Hey guys, what's up? All right. It's Double Deuce back. Ah, today we're going to revisit the debacle of the two-stroke V8 that I built, and I've had hundreds and hundreds of requests from everybody out there to give an update on it. And today I got out what I had left of the engine, um, and I'll explain that in the video. But so it's hotter than you know what up here. I think we got a 74% dew point and over 80-degree temperatures right now in September in New England. How weird is that? Honestly, I'm expecting a kick-ass hurricane out of this weather. I really am. And we got one knocking on the door down there, and they don't know where it's going to go. But so, anyways, grab your favorite smoke, beverage, popcorn, and hang out with Denny today, and we'll go over an update. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Yeah, you see I got my hair cut? Whoa, yeah, it was so damn hot. I come home, shaved my head. It was just brutal. I've had so many requests on what happened to the two-stroke V8. Well, in my life, failure is not an option. Okay, you overcome, you adapt, you achieve. That was the way I was raised. You know, it was the military upbringing in me that you don't give up, and so unfortunately, I had to give up on this because it all started off with a learning experience. Okay, my idea was to follow the Evinrude V8 two-stroke engine, and I did so much research on that. I think I spent 6 months just in research in that engine, and then I spent a year putting this together, and I bought 8 weed whacker brand new engines, tore them apart, you know, kind of dialed in the crankshafts and clocked them, welded them together, shortened everything, because my thought was you can make, you know, a V8, V6, V12 two-stroke engine, but the lengths are going to keep growing, and you're going to have an engine. If you're going to do a V12, that thing's going to be pretty long. If you're going to use all the original crankcase parts, like these here, you know what I mean? And oh, let me see. Yeah. So you figure this is your case, okay, for a two-stroke engine. If you put 6 of these together, this thing's going to be about around 2 feet long. You put 8 together, it's going to get longer. So my idea was to shrink this thing down, like the Evinrude V8. And over time, I learned that I had no space inside the crankcase for a separator between. If you look at these here, you're going to see there's a step that I had welded in this to clear the piston. Okay, so when the piston comes down, and I had them so close together here, and it was just, there was no room for a separator because the pistons overlapped. Here's the center of this one, here's the center of this one, and you know, they're coming down together, and there was no room for a separator ring between the 2 cylinders. So what happened was my gases were pushed down one side, pushed up the other, and then sucked back out of that cylinder when it was in the vortex. Okay, there was nothing separating it. How these two-strokes work is when the piston comes down, it pushes the gases and the two-stroke mixed fuel up these ports into these little veins on the side here, like so, and it actually, that's what fires your plug. Okay, it feeds your fuel. And I had done different things to the engine. First, I started off by having 8 carburetors with an intake manifold, like a conventional V8 engine. And then I realized that, one, I had too much draw on the top, and I had several messages from all these cool guys out there telling me I had the right idea, but what I needed was a supercharger to make it like a Detroit two-stroke diesel. And I was going to buy one, and when I did finally get this thing to fire off, it sounded gnarly. I mean, it was like a top fuel drag engine when it went to fire off, and it was idling away there, and all of a sudden it just locked up. And what happened was, and I don't even know which cylinder it was here, but it is destroyed because somehow when I was putting this together the second time, I had reversed all the jugs and eliminated the intake manifold. So this is your carburetor side with a little hole that pumps your little two-stroke carb, and this was the exhaust side. I had them like this with the intakes on top. Then I turned them around and I put all the carbs on the outside, and I just made like a log style exhaust manifold here like this to set down the center with a muffler on the back. And when it started, I was giddy, because like this is like, it's like a newborn baby, you know, when you hear that thing start for the first time. And when it locked up, I was like, you know, like even my neighbor came over and he was like, dude, like what was that? It sounded sick. And anyways, we sat there and kind of gave it its last rites, because when I was putting it together, somehow a package staple got dropped in the crankcase and sucked up the cylinder and locked it up, and it broke the crankshaft. So I talked to a couple of people who were interested in helping me with this debacle, because, you know, it is a pretty awesome idea if you think about it. You know, I mean, here's the thing: if you have an idea, throw it out there. No matter how bad it is, it's you still got it out there. You know, some of the worst ideas in the world are the best ideas down the road. So long story short, I sent the lower end out and the pistons to have a aluminum crankcase made, not out of, you know, aluminum channel and all this stuff. And I never heard back from the guy. So that was before COVID hit, and you know, and then I found out later that, you know, he's not with us no more. So, you know, it's like, so I just kind of, you know, chalked it up as we tried, and I put it, you know, I just put everything in a box, you know. So I don't have the crank or the rods and pistons anymore. So it's you know, it was a gallant effort, I'll put it that way. You know, we tried. Hey, but the thing is though, that doesn't mean it's over, because there's so many of you guys out there that are so interested in this. It can be done, okay? And sometimes, you know, there's some things you have to work out, like ignition systems. Now, on my ignition system on this thing, first I had a 97 truck distributor on the front of this thing, and I used the lost spark method, where, you know, it would fire 8 times on the crankshaft, all right? And then, like, the one that was on top dead center would fire, but it would also fire on an opposite cylinder at bottom dead center, and which didn't do nothing, you know. I mean, it won't ignite the gas because it's not under pressure. And over time, I thought, well, you know what I'll do? I'll upgrade it. So, you see, I took a small block Chevy distributor, I took the vacuum advanced plate out of it, and I welded a bearing bung in here so I could put a bearing in there. And this is an electronic ignition conversion, okay? And these work very, very well. And what I used was, for my coils, I used the double fire Harley coils. So they do the same thing on the Harley engines. Okay, the ones, they shoot out two sparks at the same time. One's top dead center, the other one's bottom dead center, so it won't fire. And then when that one comes up, it shoots another one. That one fires off, and the other one's at bottom dead center, so it just keeps, perpetual motion going. And then I had to make a reluctor wheel. You see, this is all made out of steel. It's a piece of exhaust pipe, and I MIG welded it all together with a nut so it would go on the end of the crankshaft so it would fit in here. Now, the reason I had to make this was because the reluctor wheel that comes with the electronic ignition conversion for the small block Chevy, Ford, Chryslers, and all this stuff, it had 8 little windows in it, okay, and it was made out of plastic. See, you're going to see this one only has 4, because what I did was I put the original plastic one on here, and it went to fire, and when it did, this plastic reluctor wheel exploded, because a distributor only goes half the speed of your crankshaft. So it was just too much volume and violence, and it wasn't made for that. So I made one out of steel with 4 windows in it to catch the two little eyes in there. So when it breaks between the two, it connects, and then it fires the coil. Simple little unit, and I think this would be a great idea for the Engine More V8 if it could be reduced enough to work for the ignition system. That way we would get rid of all these hall sensors and everything. So that's the update on this. I'm sorry I kind of ignored the subject for so many years because I was so busy with, building things that, ran but needed help. And I've done many conversions on all these, engines from China and put them in RC cars and everything. And like I say, I'm working on my 55 Chevy here. And, someone asked me just this week, would you do an update video on it, because everybody's interested. And here it is, you know what I mean? Like, I started to do it again with a new piece, fresh. These are all cut by hand, and filed by hand. All these holes to put the engine together. And like I say, when the crankshaft never returned, everything kind of went in a pile in a box, and it went in the basement. So, but if you do want to build one of these, I bought these online, all these engines online. They were a salvage company. What they do is, when you see a tractor trailer accident where it rolls on its side, all the cargo inside is washed. It goes to an auction house because it's been in an accident and the load is no good, whether it's tomatoes, any kind of foods, or, for instance, there was a truckload of these engines that left the factory that the truck had flipped over, I guess, and they couldn't sell them as new anymore. So they had to sell them as parts only. So I bought, 8 brand new 2-stroke weed whackers, and it's simple if you want to just put them together, you can actually use the magnetic, pickup and all that stuff that's factory on all these things, you know what I mean? But it makes it so long that, now you're talking, there's no way it's going to go into a quarter scale RC car. It's going to have to fit in like a lawnmower, a ride lawnmower or something. And, it was fun to build, and it was fun to fire it off and check it out. But, I just chalk it up as a learning experience. And, it's like something I always wanted to do, and I tried it, and it just didn't work out for me. That's all. So, maybe down the road I'll revisit it again and try to come up with something cool. They do make the twin cylinder 2-stroke engines that you can buy for your 5th scale cars and everything, but they are massive because they need those 2 separated crankcases in them to work. And I actually went as far as going to eliminate these heads, and I was going to four-stroke this thing, because my second thought was, all right, I didn't get the crankshaft back, nothing. However, if I bought for four-stroke weed whacker engines, they have a camshaft, a timing belt, you know, and you can just mount them together, you know. But you know, now you're spending more money than I think it's going to be worth in the end, to have something, because it's going to be so massive you won't be able to put it in nothing. You know, it'll be a display engine, and you know, I've had many people want to buy this off me, but now that it's not complete, I don't know what to tell them. You know, and like it took a lot of time to clock those crankshafts and cut them and slot them, because this engine had to be put together one cylinder at a time, and you had to like slide in. If you notice, there's a seal in between each set of cylinders here, and there's a bearing on the other side here that would seal the two compartments off from the next two. And but it did work, but not great. You know, it did fire, sounded wicked cool. I couldn't get a rev out of it because it locked up before I could rev it. So that's the update, guys. Any questions, comments, hit me up down below. I'm sorry it took over 10 years for me to put up this video, but it is what it is. And it still can be done, but I have so many other coals in the fire right now, and you know, it's just and you know, I'm bucks down when it comes to spending money on stuff like this. You know, it's like even this right now is kind of tight with our beloved economy that's going on here in America. Those people really need to wake up. They really do, because us working people are getting stomped into the ground, and it's just not cool. So the first thing that goes is our hobbies, and I've tried to keep my channel going with what I can afford to do, and you know, it's getting worse and worse now, you know, and but it's all worth it in the end to me, because if I can pass off something cool to my subscribers out there, you guys, it's worth it all. So anyways, like, share, subscribe if you want. Love to all, and stay cool if you live up in these areas where it's getting blasted. My buddy lives in Texas, and you know, it's been over 100 down there for the last I don't know how many months, you know, so I got to give him a call and catch up. So Larry, I'll be calling him. Anyways, take care, guys. Adios.